Good evening, IL family, and welcome back to your Monday night broadcast here with Coach Timiel / Lady Timiel, where we talk about positive living via simple truths. I hope everybody is safe and warm, especially if you are in the areas that have had the snowstorms. I hope that you're in and safe and enjoying your day, your free days off if you didn't have to go outside. But if you did, I pray that you have made it back home safely at this point. And so tonight we're going to talk about, I hope you saw my post earlier, and I said pressure, pros and cons. We're going to talk about it this week. And so all of my posts and everything will be dealing with the topic centered around pressure. And I said that there were pros and cons in pressure. So as always, I like to start off with a definition. And the definition of pressure is a continuous physical force exerted or on or against an object by something in contact with it. And so when we think about pressure, anytime that we think about pressure, most likely we can attribute this to weight. Most likely we can attribute it to something that is pressing us down, something that we feel like that we're under, and it's adding something. And we can definitely tell when pressure has left us because we feel so light, we feel like things have been lifted and all of that. And so tonight, the reason why I want to talk about the pros and the cons of pressure is the simple fact that there are positives, great positives, as God has showed us in the word, of being under what we call pressure versus pressure, the other side of pressure, which I'm going to get to in just a moment. So I want you to think about when you're in a situation and you're going through some things, because that's life. And that's life, and it happens. And no, none of us are away from it. None of us can get away from it. None of us can say, I'm never going to be under pressure, because as you go through life, you're going to go through trials and tribulations and throughout your year. And no matter how great you plan life, there is something that is going to come in your life that is going to feel like pressure. A lot of people feel like they're under pressure more often than others. But that's why I want to talk about the pros and cons, because sometimes the very pressure that we are assigning to our lives or saying that we're under is not necessarily the pressure that's going to produce what it is that we need in life. And so we've got to know the difference between when we need to sit under the pressure, and we got to know when it's the pressure that we need to push off of ourselves. And so on tonight, generally when we are in the press, when we're in the I like to think about the molding process, when God is taking something and allowing it to shape us and to grow us and to mature us. This is generally for us, our normal natural response is when pressure comes to oftentimes push it off, because when we're going through trials and tribulations, we automatically want to push off. We want to come out from under that. I mean, that's just a human response. But let me bless you with James. This is something that I taught recently in Bible study, and it's something that has blessed me, and I've read it over and over again. But I'm going to read it to you on tonight, and it comes from James chapter 1, verse 3. And it reads, "For you know when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." And I'm going to go on to verse 4. "So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing." And so many of you are familiar with this verse. And what James is teaching us is that when we go through tests and trials, that it is an opportunity. The opportunity, commentary shows that it's an opportunity for great joy. Now, this is not for fake feelings. I'm not talking about joy that's fake feelings and you're saying what you're supposed to say as a believer and as a Christian, and you're saying, okay, it's going to be all is well, because the truth is, in your flesh, you do have feelings and you do respond, and sometimes you're going through things that bring about pain. You're going through things that cause for a season of mourning, a season of weeping. And so therefore those are real things, and they're not to be pushed to the side with fake feelings. But the reason why it's an opportunity for great joy, because you know that as you're going through these things, that it is producing something in you that is life sustaining. And so on tonight, I want to remind you that in this pressure that sometimes we find ourselves often under, and we want to push off in it, that we have to look for the positive. We have to look for the positive outlook. And this is great for us on tonight, because as we're getting ready to shift, the Lord willing, into another year, there are going to be things that we didn't know that was going to come in 2019. And so when the pressure comes, we need to learn how to train ourselves to have the positive outlook, to have the positive to response in that, and to be able to stand under the pressure when we are in seasons where God is producing something in us, when He's giving us perseverance. It's not till you go through something until you really see where your faith is at. A lot of us are proclaiming things over our life and we're believing things over our life, but it's not until you get into a situation where you're tested that you even know if you have enough faith to go to that next level of what it is that you're already going to. I know I've been in seasons in my life where I thought, hey, I'm believing God, I'm trusting God. And then the season came and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, God, I'm not really where I thought I was. So in some regards, he uses those seasons to show you exactly where it is that you're at. And and when you're in that process, he's producing perseverance in you. For a lot of us, let me parallel it to life. A lot of times God has given you something. He's shown you something. He's shown you the vision. He's shown you how to get to it, but it's not an overnight thing. And so you got to have perseverance to go through the ups, downs, the hills, the valleys. You can apply this to your relationships. Your relationships are not always up on cloud nine. And so you got to go through the hills and the valleys, just everyday life. And so that type of perseverance, the faith that he's showing you that you have, and the perseverance that he gives you, this makes you perfect, lacking nothing, because when you're going through, you know that he's there with you in the process. And know that when you're feeling that type of pressure where he's molding you, know that under that pressure that he is there with you in the process. You are not alone. And that's why you can have a positive outlook, because when you come out of this thing, you can say, God, whenever you're done allowing whatever this is going to do to me, I know that I'm coming out on the better side of that. And so I can be excited. Now, I want to talk to you about, there's three things that I talked about here. Proper pressure produces, I said life-sustaining earlier, life-sustaining character, because it produces those things like faith and perseverance, and it gives you a proper attitude when it is that you're going through. And it also allows you to see where you're at. But let's talk about the other side of that. Let's talk about pressure on tonight that I'm talking about, the pressure where a lot of times we want to sit under it when we really should be pushing it off. And this is the pressure that sometimes we put on ourselves. Sometimes we're going through things and we're sitting in a place of pressure, but we don't realize that we put ourselves in this place. And one of the there are so many things. I just picked out a few on tonight just as reminders for us. I wanted to remind us that you should not be trying to measure up to anything or anyone or anyone's standard except for that for which God has set. The word is your reflection. Jesus Christ is your model. And so if you're striving for anything other than that, then as a believer, then you're already putting yourself under undue stress, under undue pressure. Because when you're looking over to your sister or looking over to your brother, everybody is at different places in their journey. Everybody is at different places in him. And you don't know where they're at or what they've been through or what tests and trials they've been through to get there. And so when you put your pressure on yourself and you look over and you say, I have to be like them, I have to be where they're at, you're putting a pressure on yourself that is not truly producing anything. It's not producing those things that I just talked about a little while ago. What it's doing is you're just sitting under something, trying to be something, and you're going to come out frustrated. You're going to come out feeling defeated. You're going to come out with feelings of feeling like I don't measure up because I keep looking out instead of looking in for the proper standard. Another thing I put here is the Superman or Superwoman complex. And I know for all of you that have those shirts, don't get mad at me on tonight. Wear them proud if that's what you want to wear. But what I'm saying on tonight, it is that feeling like you can do it all. It is that feeling like what I put here is that sometimes we're trying to play God. We don't have the ability to do everything. We don't have the ability to be in every single lane and be great at everything and do everything. And so you have to be good in the places where he says you're good at. You have to walk the lanes where he says that you should walk the lanes. You are putting undue pressure on yourself when you try to be the Superman or be the Superwoman or be the everything for everybody. No, that's his role. That's what he said he would be. He would be everything that everyone needed. And so we try to do that, and that puts that incorrect pressure on us. And then I put here something that we're all very familiar with, which is social popularity. And I put here, look, if you like to post your pictures, if you like to post your photos of yourself, there is nothing wrong with that. But what I don't want you to get caught up in is the likes. I don't want you to get caught up in the comments, because when you keep putting that out there, you're sitting under pressure because you're waiting for people to respond to something. You're looking for affirmation from people. You're looking for people to say, oh, that's That's great. That's good. That's that. Suppose they're on the sabbatical that week. Suppose they say, I'm not going to be on social media that week, or you don't jump in their feed. Then you're allowing something that is not really giving you a true picture, a true reflection of who you are. And these are just a few examples, but so often we're sitting under pressure that we place our own selves under, and we want to sit under that. But when God is allowing something to shape and mold you, you're pushing that off. So what we need to learn on tonight is pressure. It has its pros and its cons. And for the pressure that is the proper pressure that's going to produce something out of you, that is the pressure that you sit under. That is the pressure that you trust God in. That is the pressure that you have joy in, because you know that there's something great coming out of that. And for those things that you are putting on yourself, those comparisons, those looking for affirmation in the wrong place, those trying to be in all kinds of lanes and just wondering and grabbing at everything in the air instead of getting centered in Him, that is not the pressure that you should put on yourself on tonight. And so I pray that this encourages you, because I know for many of you, you are getting ready to set goals. You're getting ready to start things in the new year. You're getting ready to begin to choose what you're going to work on. Some people still set those January goals. And so in saying that, don't allow yourself to sit under pressure beyond what it is that God has given you to sit under on tonight, because you're going to spend a lot of days frustrated. You're going to spend a lot of days upset. You're going to spend a lot of days feeling worthless, and you don't have to feel that way. You don't have to go through life that way. You don't have to go through life under the pressures and the strain sometimes that you allow yourself to be under. Sit under the things that it is that He's giving you. And guess what? The Holy Spirit can help you know exactly if it's a season where God is allowing you to go through something that is molding you and that is producing something great in you. And He's going to make it a lot easier, even though it may feel a certain way. But the joy that He gives you of knowing what you're going to come out with, that alone should be enough hope for you to go through it. So I pray that this has been encouraging to you on tonight. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope you'll come back next week for another conversation on positive living via simple truths. Good night.